Oh, oh, what day is it? Oh my god. Wait, December 6th? What? Oh, 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 fuck. Hello, everyone. I've been on a bender since about 2 weeks ago. My Pookie Bear, Piotr Jan, he won. I've been gone, just drinking, celebrating, enjoying life. Intoxicated out of my mind, and today I am back to predict the UFC 310 card. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So for the main event, let's see. I have chosen Alejandro Pantoja to beat Kai Asakura. Going into the build-up of this, I thought very heavily I was going to pick Kai. It feels like the plot deems him the winner, and the plot for the UFC, that would be the best outcome. But I can't justify logically why Pantoja would lose. I do think Kai has fought good competition in Ryzen, and the most notable of that would be Manel Kape, but he looked worse in that duology of fights than Manel did. Manel got a split decision loss in the first one and then knocked him out in the second one. So, just based off of that, you can deem Kai Asakura as slightly less good than Manel Kape. And then when you just look at other rising competition that he has fought, the question is, are they on that same level as Manel? And I do think Kai is top 10 level in the UFC. And what this matchup really comes down to is a stylistic one. If Kai has the right style to beat Pantoja, because I do think Pantoja as a champion would beat more of the top 10 people. But if Kai has the right style to beat Pantoja, I do think he could do it. And he would still lose to more of the top 10, though, than Pantoja would at this point. So logically, the age was the only other thing I could really look at and go, maybe that's going to cause him to lose. But he's 34. He hasn't looked bad in any of his last fights. He was dominant in the Royval one. Looked better in that fight than he subbed him in the rematch, or the first fight. But yeah, I just don't think age is really taking a toll on Alejandro at all, and I think he will win this by a decision. I think it'll be a nice, fun fight. Kai will look good, and people will be like, this guy did better than we thought he might. Or they'll just be like, I wanted him to win. But going down on the card, someone who never goes down on his wife, Ian Gary will be losing to Shavkat Rakhmonov. I looked over this one pretty hard. They have a very similar past few fights, both fighting Magny and Neal, and then a karate-style striker in Wonderboy and MVP. And though I do think MVP's probably better at this point than Wonderboy's getting up there in age more so than MVP is. I just like the dominance and the pursuit of finishes from Shavkat. I think, especially in a 5-round fight, he's going to have a lot more windows to win. And he's shown abilities to take shots from folks like Geoff Neal, and he eats them without much dismay, I guess. But Gary has been dropped by Mr. Asian Song, or whatever his name is. Song Kanan, that's the boy. And yeah, Ian wasn't really very successful on the ground with MVP either, which I think you should be if you're gonna want to contend with Shavkat on the ground. I know he's been training with Charles Oliveira a lot, which, by the way, Charles, I love you. Everyone loves you, but oof, your reps going through the mud lately with that weight cutting thing with the other dude. That was interesting, Charles. And then now this sudden relationship with Ian Gary. Don't get too comfortable, Charles, now, man. Don't get too comfortable. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, I got Shavkat winning. Ian hasn't been as hateable this week as normal, but I still think he's gonna lose, and maybe win one more fight and then get a Colby fight. Colby is someone who's worse than Ian Gary. Colby ducked him in Tampa until Gary had to pull out, and then all of a sudden, oh, Colby's good for short notice replacement against Buckley. Dude's just a coward. Doesn't want to fight anyone who's actually got credit and esteemed wins at welterweight. Hopefully Buckley gives that man a pounding. That's all I'm going to say. But yeah, Shavkat, I'll go TKO round 4. Puts him on the ground, just punches him, makes the ref stop it. Now this one, there's a lot of competitive fights on this card, and this one I flip-flopped on a couple times. But I'll say just because it is a 3-rounder, I will go with Volkov to get a decision upset here. I don't think it's going to be a particularly nasty fight. Maybe Volkov bloodies him up like he did Sergey, but I think Volkov's going to edge this one out 29-28 decision. If it was 5 rounds, I'd probably lean Cyril, because Volkov kind of paces himself slower over 5 rounds. Gon is more comfortable doing that picky style, but with 3, I think this favors Volkov. He's going to go out there and fight hard and not worry about gassing by the end of it. And yeah, moving on to this fight. I am so enraged still to this day why this fight was ever made. Kron Gracie versus Bryce Mitchell. Why? Why? Explain this to me. Why was this fight made? I want to talk to the matchmaker who booked this fight and ask him why. Truly why? Why? There's no reason this fight should exist. Kron Gracie. Fair play. Caceres was a good win. If you wanted to give him a ranked fighter after that, it's arguable, but at least he's 1-0 in the UFC at that point. But he lost to Charles Jourdain, the guy who's been cucked out of the top 15 at featherweight for years, to the point where he's going down to bantamweight now because he's been defeated by Gene Silva, that guy I love. I'm horribly ill. Don't thread about that. But oh my goodness, I'm just getting my gears grinded up. Why, Kron Gracie? Why are you getting a ranked opponent? And it's not even like this is a short notice fight. This was booked a while in advance. I remember when it first got announced, I was like, why? Because that's what everyone's thinking. This dude looked pathetic. This is like giving Herbert Burns a fucking ranked opponent at this point. Like, why? He's lost his past 2 fights embarrassingly to, forget the other dude, but Jourdain was one of them. And yeah, it's just Kron Gracie. Dude should not be fighting for a ranked opponent. Like, I get Bryce Mitchell got finished nastily in his last fight, but if you really want to, you could find someone who's not a high finisher who deserves a ranked opponent, or at least is almost there. Like, come on, you guys arguing that, oh, Bryce deserves someone who's not going to kill him. Like, you don't have to give him Brito or fucking fighting nerd. I'm just... This isn't part of the reason why the UFC is clapped. And also that press conference. Why the flippin' frick was there only 3 people on stage, or 3 fights on stage? That is ridiculous. Bryce Mitchell and Nate Landwehr being on stage would have made for great promotion. These 2 hillbillies hillbillying it up. Like, are you kidding me? People want to see that. People want to see freaking, what's his face? Brian Battle up there on stage calling Ian Gary a cuck. That's what they want. They want Luke up there with Thimba Grimbo while everyone's like, oh, Thimba, you came so far, good for you. Yeah, y'all don't want to promote. You could have Thimba up there. Rock could give him another house. Where's The Rock? Why isn't he giving this man another house? Get your shit together, UFC. Honestly, it's like y'all forgot how to promote. Y'all just want to become boxing at this point. With all the robberies too. You're lucky there's been not as many robberies, because I was this close to going pulling up a whole list of all the robberies, because up until that Jones card, before that card, there was a long list of every card. 1 or 2 at least robberies happened per card for ages. They were awful. Who are the judges? And just there's suspicion going on. and I am suspicious. But yeah, speaking of Herbert Burns, the man who he KO'd with a knee, I don't know if y'all remember that, but Herbert Burns knocked Nate Landwehr out with a knee. That's my GOAT right there, Herbert Burns. Don't talk bad about my man. My man Herbert should be fighting for a ranked spot instead of Bryce Mitchell. He's at least done more. At least. But yeah, we got Nate Landwehr versus Doo-Ho Choi. This is going to be a fun, scrappy fight. Doo-Ho's either going to get this done early with a knockout, or Landwehr's going to do what Landwehr does and put all biggest biceps in UFC on him, you know? Take him to the ringer. And yes, I think Landwehr will be doing that with a TKO in round 2. And I don't think I actually gave a prediction for Mitchell versus Gracie. I was just so mad. I got Mitchell by decision. No shit. I don't think there's going to be a finish there. I think they're just going to grapple a bunch, and Mitchell's going to outstrike him at times. And then we're moving down. We got Reyes versus Smith. You know, on paper, Smith gets a finish here with the hands somehow. On paper, that's how it goes down. But I believe in the Dominator, the John Jones Slayer, to get a round 2 KO. That's what I'm going with. I think he'll finish him in round 2. I think it could be earlier, but I think Smith's on paper good enough to make it into round 2 at least. And I do foresee him getting finished, however. He could go to decision. I'm not writing that off, but these two both like finishes, and, you know, I think a finish will happen. Moving on, we got Luque versus Garembo. Now, the charity only goes so far. When I saw this announced, I was like, oh, Nick Diaz is out. He's on crack. Themba's going to win. He's going to get that charity to win over a washed Luque. But then I got to thinking, Luque loses to very good competition, or at least top 10 competition at welterweight. And he's shown on his record he's able to still contend with top 15. But anytime he's gotten up against someone top 10, he loses. Now he's gone on a little bit of a skid lately. Maybe that's a little bit in part due to the damage he took from Jeff Neal, but I think Luque's had us all fooled. We all think he's washed. But he's going to get a decision here. He's going to show that he still belongs, because he's still really young, guys. Everyone's saying he's washed just because he's gone on a couple losses. But he's still only 33. Themba's the same age. Moderate favorite. I like Luque here as an underdog, honestly. I think these are the types of fights Luque wins, and I think a lot of people are in for a surprise with this one. Moving on, we have the most boring fight on the card, but an interesting one. Evloev versus Sterling. I got my boy Aljo by a decision, baby. This is going to be a decision 100%. And I just think bantamweights are better. I think Aljo has a very dominant grappling style. I think Mavzar is like a little bit of a marauder, where he's going to do a lot of holding and takedowns. And I think Aljo's got more of a dominant grappling style. And I think he's got the grappling training partners as well to really carry him through this fight. I just have faith in Aljo. He's beaten Petr Yan, arguably the bantamweight GOAT. How old is he actually? Haven't looked. 35, okay. That's concerning. But yeah, I'm back in Aljo. That's my boy. I like Aljo too. He's a cool dude. Got a lot of garbage for the way the first fight with Yan ended, but I think since then he's grown on me. Yan, my favorite fighter. Aljo, the one who ruined his career. But forgive. That's all it takes. And I expect Aljo to grind out a decision over this bum with his emo haircut and inbred genetics. Moving on. Brian Battle and Randy Brown. I got Brian Battle with a TKO in round 2. TKO. I think Randy, he's decent on the feet, but he has holes. He's susceptible to finishes on the ground as well. And I just think there's more exploitation there for Brian Battle. Brian has done very well thus far since he started losing weight. I see you, Brian. Putting in that work, getting in shape. And he's just coming into his prime as well. So, yeah. I think he's going to beat up on old man Randy Brown as Randy starts to kind of decline in his career. I don't know if he gets another 3-fight win streak, but prove me wrong, Randy. Go ahead, man. And moving on, Chris Weidman versus Eric Anders. Now, I went with Eric before, but then he pulled out, and the fight got rebooked. So now I'm going with Weidman by decision. Pretty simple. He got injured, and that's no good to me. Another person who got injured was Volkov, but he's a heavyweight, so the skill gap's going to be less harsh, I guess. But this is middleweight, so it's a little similar, but they're a little better. And yeah, I've also kind of since just changed my mind in general on the pick. I think Weidman has the tools to take this to a decision, but he could very well get finished tragically, but I think not. And moving on down to Van versus Durden. I got Van getting a finish with the KO TKO. Pretty simple. Hopefully he doesn't lose. Kid's young, he's a decent prospect. He just needs to get his defense up. Work on the grappling a little bit. This fight will be a good test for that. Moving on down, we got Max Payne Griffin versus Michael Chiesa, the Tony Ferguson Slayer. Griffin's gonna decisionate Chiesa for what he did to Tony. And it's as simple as it goes. Griffin's getting kind of old. Chiesa's kind of old. We're going to see two oldies duke it out. And speaking of oldies, we got Clay Guida versus Chase Hooper. I believe this is the big favorite on the card. Chase Hooper going to win. Submission. Guida has been finished by submission quite a bit in his career. Hooper accelerates at submissions. I think this one's pretty clear. I think round 2 is when it's coming. And yeah, he'll probably catch him with a twister. Totally. And lastly, Bresky versus Ncheka, which we could do at heavyweight. I like that. Kennedy's still at heavyweight. I think he has a bigger ceiling up here than down at light heavyweight. And I think Kennedy will get the victory. Probably a decision. I think Bresky might do better than we think, but maybe he gets the knockout. Who knows? All I know is I'm going with Kennedy by decision. And, well, I think that does it. So, let me know what you guys think. I'm back from my bender. Hopefully I don't go on another one after this card, because my boy Aljo defeats whoever. I don't know. Probably not going to go on a bender after this card. There's no one I super like on here, but yeah. The drugs are wearing off. I am back. We will see for how long. Brofist bros.